Everybody, and welcome to the Sales Dojo out here in Cedar Park, Texas. Thank you for joining us today on this lovely and rainy afternoon. If you're watching from home and you're new to this, what we do here is we run a sales floor here in Cedar Park. And during AEP, we usually are very, very busy, as you can see. But when agents are coming in, they're going to share their stories. They converse with what's going on and the topics of the day in terms of Medicare sales and sales experience. So what I'd like to talk about today, a little bit about what I'm doing here, is I'm talking to people who are interested in wanting to start their career in Medicare. I talked to a couple people on Indeed, and many of them who are interested in switching are asking, hey, is this for after AEP? And what was interesting was that was their very first question. They didn't understand that this type of position that we're offering can be taken care of immediately. It could be set up and get your career going immediately. So yeah, many agents that we're talking to are still working through their AEP book and working at their company. But no, to be a Guru's Remote agent, you are not under the shackles of AEP strictures. So the topic that I really want to talk about today is, what does it take to be a Medicare Guru's career agent? There are a lot of questions that have been arisen in my interviews online, and they're like, what does this look like? A lot of curiosity around the potential to make money. And what I'm informing them, and what I'm going to inform you today, is that there is no potential to make money. Okay, there is an opportunity for you to start your career today and get everything ready to go today. So the questions that we have to ask, especially here at Medicare Gurus, is, are you ready? What does that look like to be a career agent at Medicare Gurus? Well, the first thing that you want to understand is that first and foremost, it takes a commitment. One thing that I've learned when I was transitioning from W-2 salary position to a 1099 commission position many years ago was that I was freaking out on not having income. Okay, I was nervous that, I don't have a steady amount of income coming in. And I was freaking out like, I'm not gonna be able to pay my bills. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. But what I learned, and I did the calculations, is that the minimal amount of sales that I had to do just to match my regular low base was kind of embarrassing. I was able to, just as I started, able to match what the base was out there within the first week. So for those of you that are nervous about needing income right away, the question you have to ask yourself is, well, what does your income look like? Is it a regular base that you're just getting granted from your employer just to keep you safe, to pay your bills, to pay your rent or your mortgage? I know that that's very nerve-wracking, and we all have questions and all have worries about what that looks like. But when you speak to people who are in this position and they're starting out and they're excited about it, the reason that they're not worried about that is because they're committed to making this work, that they don't have the doubts of failing. Yes, failure is real, but is it real in your mindset? Are they just minimal call failures, or are you epically failing? Well, if you're looking at it as an epic failure, then you're going to fail. I've learned that in doing this for a very, very long time, I've understood that, I'm pessimistic, but I also realized that when I got better at this job with the reps and the practice and the support, that failure didn't even exist in my vocabulary. And that doesn't sound like I'm sitting here, promoting, Tony Robbins, okay? This is a real thing. This is something that, I understood how to balance my work life. And I knew that the first thing I had to do was commit to it. I had to make a lot of adjustments in my life. I committed myself to other jobs and I was loyal to that company, but that company wasn't loyal to me. When I was making my money, I was loyal to myself and I was committed to myself, and that's where I made my money. So, Jacob, thank you for coming in at the right time. The topic today is, what does it take to become a career agent? What are the realities behind it? And so, you talk a little bit about it in dojos in the past about when you started coming from your industry to over here. But, being at a recruiter and talking to these people at the career level, the pushback is so common. I need to make income, or I need to get leads. I need to feed. So, give me some advice on how not to overcome those objections, but how to first and foremost commit to this position.
I think with it, you have to be an adult, and you have to realize like that's what you and me see so common is with people that come into a no salary, no commission, or strictly commission, and then in the first week go, well, how much am I getting paid? Well, how much did you sell? You didn't sell anything? 0. And they go, well, that's not what I signed up for. Yeah, it is. We just had this little episode kind of happen too, where somebody comes on as a 1099 contract and says, you make sale off commission, and it's 3 days in, and they go, okay, I don't think that's for me. Okay, this is not a trial. The reason, the little soapbox here, but the reason why there are so many crappy and terrible Medicare agents out there is because everybody that doesn't, they don't take it seriously from the beginning. And so sure, you can enroll somebody, all you need is their Medicare number. That's it. You don't have to know exactly what you're doing. But once the people see, okay, this is a whole lot harder than I thought, or man, I really do have to work to get paid when I'm first starting off here, those people fizzle out, and those are the impressions that are left with a whole lot of people that are on Medicare. And so really with it, I mean, in order to get started, you have to know what you're getting into. You have to know that I have to do this. Or if I can't do this, I can't keep the lights on for my kids.
Yeah.
Or I can't put gas in my car. Or I can't do X, Y, and Z. It's not a scare tactic, but it's a mentality that you have to have from the very beginning. You have to know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
If you and me, if I was like, you know what, I'm just going to be friends with Steven. Let's try it out. And then in 2 nights from now, we go to a disco, and then I go back to your apartment and you're Jeffrey Dahmer. At some point I have to think to myself, okay, how did I get myself in this situation? Or did I think this through? We're
going to sit and watch this video.
Yes, and you just replay your calls and make me listen to them in your apartment. And that's what it is. But that's the exact same thing right there for it.
Yeah.
Is you have to know what you're getting into.
Do you think that's what the workforce is? I'm just kind of extrapolating on it now. Do you think that's what the workforce is now?
I think it's a
lot of trial and error.
It's a lot of trial and error, and I'll try it out. If it doesn't work, I can find something else.
Yeah.
And it's a whole lot of settling, not a lot of reaching.
Yeah.
Is what's going on too, because that's just how employers are now. I know you and me, we're very strict. If we see that you've been bounced around or passed around like a bottle of Crown at a high school party, and you're working here for 2 months and 2 months and 2 months and 2 months, what are you going to do to us?
Yeah.
You're going to work here for 2 months and then you're going to leave. Nobody wants to, you hate to say it because I sound like the old fart, but nobody wants to put the work in anymore.
Yeah.
These employees, they're not preaching loyalty. They're not. They're just in it. Okay, if I stay here for a year and I can get this title, then I can leave and go somewhere else and get this next title and then do the same thing to that company where it's 2 years. As long as people have that mindset, there's not going to be as many successful agents out there in any business.
Yeah.
Because they're so accustomed to, oh, this isn't working out for me. I have to go and find something better. Take it, we'll flip it and let's compare it to college football here.
Okay.
Let's use Texas A&M as an example. Okay.
Of course.
Number 1 recruiting class this year. Best recruiting class in the nation. Okay. A lot of kids coming on, but not a lot of spots available. You go from being ranked number 6 to start the season to now after Saturday's game, we're 3-5. How many of those kids do you think are going to go in the transfer portal?
A few, because they've been sitting on the bench. Yeah.
A lot. Not just because of they haven't been playing, but the team isn't winning.
Mm-hmm.
So what are those people going to do? They're going to go, let's see. I committed to being here for 4 years. They get a little bit of adversity and go, I'm out. I'm going to go to somebody else that has a better shot at winning. And that is what is ruining college sports, is that ability there, just like it's ruining the workforce, is that there's no repercussions for doing it.
There's no onus on the employee.
Exactly.
There's no responsibility. Looking at the people that have come through here, I'm not going to say one person, but Christopher, I'll say his name. Mm-hmm. That guy came in and he's like, I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to show you by 2 examples. One is when I fail, I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm going to continue to learn. And 2, when I do learn, I'm going to show you how I've learned. And I think we don't have that in the workforce. They come in and they want to be given stuff. They got their base, they got their money, their production is minimal. They don't care because they have been given something. So it's like what Frank says. What is it? The lost cost fallacy, the sunk cost fallacy. Like companies are at a sunk cost fallacy because these people are like, what are you giving me? And I also see too, like a lot of employees are like, especially like you see it on LinkedIn, like, oh, I don't get enough time off, or I'm questioned as to why I'm giving time off. Like there's such this entitlement to these employees where it's like, yeah, I work for you, but there's no meeting halfway. And then when they do these massive layoffs, it's the company's fault, So just, I'm going to hop on my soapbox and hop back off for a second, but it's like the reason that you and I are successful is that we went into this job with no expectations. All we did was come in here and say, I'm going to learn, I'm going to apply what I've learned, and I'm going to continue to apply what I've learned until I am successful because I see what works here. I know what works here. So I'm going to apply it. It may not work for me right now, but that's because I don't understand it yet. I haven't discerned on how it works. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep working hard. I'm going to learn from my mentors. I'm going to apply what I've learned, and I'm going to show off what I've learned once I'm successful. And nobody can even get to that phase yet. It's like Mario Brothers. Remember Super Mario Brothers?
Yes.
Okay. When I first played Super Mario Brothers, I use the Super Mario Brothers example all the time. I could beat it from 1-1 to 8-4. No warping. Okay. But then what happens is that you go online. When you start to learn, oh, these are some tricks to warp. Or they hand out Nintendo Plus. I don't know if you remember the magazine Nintendo Plus, where it give you codes to like warp. Well, that's all people wanted to do now. It's like, hey, I beat Super Mario Brothers. Did you? You went from 1, 2 to 4, and then you went to 8, and it took you 5 minutes. Like it took no work. And that's what bothered me is that people are like, I can do this, and they don't understand how work works.
It's so funny. This is just all analogies and stuff here, because I'll use another video game analogy here too. So I still play a little Xbox from time to time, but I only like playing one type of games when I play Xbox, and that is just sports games. But it's got to be online head-to-head versus another person. Like I can't just play against a computer. I'm that type of person. It's like I got to beat somebody.
Right.
Not only does that tell you that's like, hey, this guy wants to win. Like I want to win, but I want to beat somebody.
Right.
Doing it. I get no thrill from playing a computer.
Right.
So in doing it, it's so funny nowadays because it's like you talk about there's like cards. It's called the series of games is called Ultimate Team. So you're trying to build an ultimate team. So like we'll take MLB The Show, for example. So you have like your Mike Trouts judges, but then you have the throwback in there with like the Griffies and Chipper Jones switch hitting.
That's your throwback, guys? Jeez, you are young. Wow.
That's what a lot of people use because those are some of the best rated. Jimmy Rollins is a throwback.
There you go. All right. I was going to say Mike Schmidt, Pete Rose.
In there.
Yeah.
Pete Rose actually not in the game, not allowed. But
I understand.
There's a lot of the people that they have this mindset that, the highest rating that you can get is a 99 in the game. Well, if I filled my team with all 99 people, theoretically you shouldn't lose, right?
Right.
I think South Park made a meme about it where the guy's like at this desk and he's like sweating and they're like, oh man, like, did you just beat the game? And he was like, no, I just did all of this. So now I can start playing the game.
Right.
And he's like, what? But you can see these people that have all these like 99 everything teams, and then you throw them an inside fastball and they can't hit it.
Yeah.
And then guess what? Those people get mad and go, well, my team is on 99. Why did I lose? Why can't I hit the ball? And it's like, maybe you just have no baseball IQ.
Right.
You have no idea what you're doing. Maybe you just can't move your thumbs that quick.
Yeah.
Or you have no idea how to time a slider.
And to bring it back to work,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same analogy. Like people come in and they make a couple calls a day and they're like, I don't know why I'm not doing well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no one wants to be reflective anymore. They don't want to step back and say, what am I doing wrong? Like you ask somebody to listen to their call and they're like, yeah, I'll listen to it. Never listen to it, you know? Because the minute that they listen to it,
they have to admit that they did something wrong.
But then they'll hear what they did.
Uh-huh.
You know, they're like, oh my goodness, I sound like absolute garbage. I wouldn't even buy for myself. I sound desperate. And so it's just, you know, when I talk to these people, they're like, oh, I offer them everything, you know, like this is the opportunity. This is what you're going to have sales support. You're going to have community. You're going to have training. You're going to have everything that you wanted. And they're like, okay, well, am I going to make money right away? And it's like, ugh, did you not hear what I just said? Like you make money right away, right now. And look where you're at. Like, why don't you have a little bit of foresight and be like, okay, where am I going to be in 2 years? You're not going to be here talking to me. You're going to be on your vacation because you've made residuals, you know, but you have to commit to that. And they just, it's tough to explain it because they've just met me and we're just talking, but it's hard for them to grasp that forethinking, that prescience.
I think why is because nowadays everybody loves to have a scapegoat. Yeah, everybody has to have a scapegoat.
Yeah.
It is. And to where if you say, hey, you have to work for yourself, you don't have a scapegoat. So when it doesn't work, there's nobody to blame besides yourself. That's why I think now is we see a lot of people that are switching jobs so much or trying out different industries. Try it out for a few months and then leave because they know they're really at no risk to it.
Yeah.
You know, the employer is the one that is going to have to do with the onboarding, the training, and the offboarding, and then turn around and say 2 months, wow, so he just lied to us. And he didn't really want to do this. He just wanted to get paid for 2 months, try it out, figure out, it's kind of hard work. That's why I think a lot of people nowadays they're too afraid because there's nobody else to blame them or blame besides themselves. And everybody is just looking out. Well, if I can't succeed, I have to blame somebody. If I'm not selling, I have to blame something. You know, look at that. We had somebody that was here in our office that every single time something went wrong, that employee would always blame either the lead, the technology, blame something else that is out of their control. And where did that get them? They're no longer employed here because you don't have that not acknowledgement, but that intuition to look and say, okay, maybe something is wrong here. Maybe I am doing something wrong. Maybe somebody else knows more than I do. Maybe I should ask them for help instead of blaming everything. But it was so funny because I was talking to somebody about this employee and they go, they've been feeling like this for a while, haven't they? And I go, every chance they get to blame somebody else for their own issue is when they will do it.
Yeah.
They will never, ever accept responsibility. And that's what scares people, especially now since we're talking about remote here, that you have to bet on yourself. But guess what? All of those stories where people make it, you have to bet on yourself regardless of what you do. If you're just going to half-ass through every job you ever do, you're never going to be financially stable.
Yeah. You know, I'll add on to your theory of people have scapegoat. I think that makes a lot of sense, but also to add on to that, I think it's because people can't hide at this job. You know, everything you do, and it's not like Big Brother's watching you, it's that in order for you to be successful, you need to be vulnerable. You need to be like, okay, the reason I have 5 sales this week instead of 15 is something on me. And, you know, there are other mitigating, extenuating circumstances, but for the most part, it's you. You know, how long have you been on the phone? What is your talk time? How often do you take breaks? You know, like this is integral to you being successful and they can't hide from that. You know, other jobs that are salaried, it's like you can hide, no one cares. Oh, your KPIs are low. Let's pick up your KPIs. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Mhm.
Like here's like, it's more raw, and people are afraid of that.
I think a lot of it has to do with this this industry, because this is not a, hey, let's sit down and let's look at your oh god, I even forgot the term now. What's it, like your forecast? What's it called?
Your portfolio?
No, not, or like what's your oh gosh, it's gonna kill me. If y'all have it over there, let me know.
Your projections?
It's like projections, but gosh, Frank says it all the time. Your
Performance?
no, not performance. It's not book of business. It's like whatever you're basing future closing
Uh-huh.
numbers on. If I ask Frank, he would know right away. What was that? Pipeline. Thank you.
Yeah.
Pipeline. This industry is not a pipeline industry.
Right.
To where I can say, it's funny, and we've seen it here with a lot of people. That, they talk to them in April, and they're like, I'm like, what'd you do? And they're like, I made an appointment for AEP, and I go, great. Because guess what? Those people are not going to keep that appointment.
Right.
Because the people don't have the foresight to say, I need to call this person every month and check in with them before AEP.
Mhm.
In order for me to close them, I can't talk to them for 30 minutes in April and then call them in October and say, hey, remember me? No, dude. They've talked to 15 other freaking people.
Right.
Your appointments are bull. They're not really appointments. That's why on the floor, when some people ask me and they go, should I make this an appointment? And I go, do you think they're going to pick the phone up?
Right.
Are they going to remember who you are? They go, well, I don't know. Well, then no, that's not an appointment. You just wasted that lead. But that's what makes it hard, is because this is not a pipeline. Oh, I can see what I can get in then and there. This is an immediate, did you sell it? Did you not? That's why in our CRM and our system, when they answer the call and you're in a conversation, when you click end call, what is the very first thing that pops up? Did you make a sale?
Right.
Yes or no? Because you get that instant answer. There's no BS down the line. Yeah, in 2 weeks I'll have 15 med subs closed.
Yeah.
Or in 2 weeks I have these 2 final expense I have to do. There's none of that. Everything is so instantaneous that a lot of people, they can't deal with failure. And it's because you can't BS a pipeline when it comes to Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, because you don't know if somebody's going to pick their phone up. You don't know how healthy they are. You could say, you could be a Plan G client of mine right now, and I'm trying to rewrite you, and you're paying $1,000, and I've got a $100 Aetna policy here, and say you have a shoulder surgery coming up in January. I'm like, all right, perfect. I'll call you January 2nd when you're all recovered, and I'll have the app started, and we'll have everything good. Well, I call you January 2nd. Oh, yeah, my heart got a little messed up, and I went into a little AFib during surgery. Well, guess what? Now we got 2 years at the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's no pipeline projections for Medicare, because you really have one shot and one shot only, and that is when you're on the phone with somebody. And that's hard for a lot of people that like to BS their way through life, because you can't hide, like you said.
Yeah.
You can't hide behind a pipeline.
Right.
You can't hide behind a projection. This business is did you do it? Could you have done it?
Yeah.
Or you didn't do it. That's the 3 outcomes of everything.
And our tone today is like, you have to have courage, you have to have gusto, you got to have all these things that are going to make you a tough agent. But like I said too, you also have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to learn and willing to work. And going back to what we said earlier, like, people don't want to work. They don't want to work. I mean, look at the things now. You can work from home. You are getting a base. You are getting bonuses. You are getting great insurance benefits. And people are still complaining that they're stuck in their jobs. I bet you if you look at resumes on LinkedIn, 75% of them are false.
Oh, yeah.
They're totally negligible. Like, because I talk to these people too, and they're like, oh yeah, I forgot to add this position. It's like, well, yeah, no wonder you didn't add it, because you've been jumping around.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll wrap up here. We got a couple minutes left. My theme today was, what does it take? And because I'm doing this because I want to learn from you, not here. What does it take? What do I tell these people? Because I'm doing everything I can, and we're getting some great recruits. But there's also people that are just not understanding the commitment. So what do you suggest?
I mean, I think it takes takes a whole lot of courage, first and foremost. And courage is, talk about another reference here. We're talking about Wizard of Oz here.
Yeah.
But like courage, that can't be created. It can't. You are either a courageous person or you are not. And that's the introvert, extrovert, whatever it is, just like a leader. Some people say you're born a leader, some say you can do it. I think really you have to be born to it. Now you can learn to lead in different ways, but that still makes you a leader from the beginning. But you really have to have that courage to start, because if not, if you're too afraid to mess up, you're never going to go above and beyond any type of expectation that you have. Because when you're not afraid to mess up, I'm not afraid to mess up. You're not afraid to mess up. Christopher Lacey is not afraid to mess up here.
Right.
But guess what happens? We mess up.
Mm-hmm.
But what do? We learn from it. We take risks in how we recruit, how I sell, certain keywords that I say. I have a video on here where I remember I called the guy that was turning 65, called him a hot boy, because everybody was trying to break a piece off. Because he was just getting onto Medicare, and nobody could, no company can decline him.
Right.
And it worked for him. And then guess what? I tried it again with the wife of somebody, and she did not like it.
Right.
So guess what? I didn't keep doing the hot boy thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I took the risk and I learned.
Right.
And without the
you should keep doing it. Just see how far it goes.
Without the courage to do it, then you never know.
Yeah.
You really have no idea. Closing techniques. I don't ever ask for a sale.
Yeah.
I don't. You assume every sale is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you have me on the phone. That means we're going to get something done.
Right.
So I never ask, is that okay? Would you like to do this? I go, no, this is your only option of what we're going to do here. And guess what? I had to learn that.
Yeah.
And now I have to have the courage to say it like that.
Yeah.
When I do it. Now it's second nature. Back then it wasn't. It was does this sound okay? Until I got smacked hard enough from Frank time and time again in the back of the head saying, what are you doing?
Yeah. You know what we should title today? We should do like a Wizard of Oz theme this week on how to be a guru's remote agent. Today we talked about courage. Tomorrow we should talk about having brains. And then Wednesday we talk about having heart.
Heart's a big one. But
we can switch it up.
But that's really.
But you're right though, because you know what, you bring up a good point. That the root of this is just having the courage to do this, to the belief in yourself, the commitment to yourself that you can do this. Because I know we will provide everything that they need, but do you have the courage to believe us and to believe in yourself?
This is how you have to think about it here. I am going to provide you everything because you are in control of your future and what you do with it. And then when I go to bed at night, and if you were sitting at zero policies, I know I did everything I possibly could to put opportunity in front of you. Mm-hmm. But I am not going to feel bad for your failure when you cannot recognize it yourself. That's what happens with a lot of these people that are switching jobs and doing everything like that. That is what I would grill on, intently, because there's no consistency with it. You look at the guy that, you get two resumes in front of you, one person that's had 10 jobs this year and it's November versus one person who's had the same job for 20 years. And what question are you going to ask? The same thing. I wonder why they applied. Well, this one we can tell it just jumps from job to job. But this one that's been working there for 20 years, something had to have happened in order for you to be in this situation. And I have to figure that out. What happened?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. That's in there. Courage. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Jacob, thank you for joining me. And best of luck. Keep selling. And Grip is out.
Thank you, Andrew.